A gente tem um jogo, querendo ou não, muito difícil. Eu tenho comigo uma ideia de que se o time tá no campeonato que eu tô jogando, ele mereceu estar lá. Então é um time, com certeza, que é um time cascudo, é um time difícil de jogar contra. Apesar da gente não ter tanto conhecimento sobre eles, a gente já tá se preparando para esse jogo, obviamente. Então não é algo que a gente vai chegar totalmente surpreendido, para ser surpreendido por eles.
El partido que jugamos contra M80 nos ayudó a darnos cuenta del nivel que tenemos como equipo y que tienen nuestros rivales y las cosas que tenemos que arreglar para que cuando juguemos contra The Union podamos demostrar el verdadero nivel que tiene el equipo Fusion y que tiene nuestra región.
Vai ser um jogo pegado, vai ser um jogo difícil, vai ser um jogo muito importante pra gente também, porque se a gente ganha deles, a gente garante o primeiro lugar no grupo, então a gente passa direto pra uma fase nos playoffs. Então, cara, eu acho que vai ser mais ou menos isso. O jogo vai ser muito legal, mas apesar de saber do jogo deles também, que a gente vai entender um pouco do jogo deles, a gente tem que fazer o nosso. O nosso jogo a gente sempre impõe ele, e eu acho que é uma das maiores características que a gente tem é essa. Então a gente vai chegar pra impor o nosso jogo.
Tenemos el nivel, la confianza, las herramientas para realizar un muy buen partido contra The Union y para que a los equipos que nos crucemos en playoff demostrar el verdadero nivel que tenemos.
Eu acredito que a nossa confiança é uma palavra que a gente inclusive usa entre a gente no time, porque todo mundo tem muita confiança, tanto em si mesmo quanto no outro. Então é uma coisa que é muito importante pra gente, é uma coisa que, a gente tem naturalidade em fazer isso. Então eu acredito que, cara, a calma pro brasileirinho é só que a gente vai estar aqui de novo, a gente vai fazer o nosso de novo, a gente vai mandar bem de novo e é isso. A gente vai pra cima dos caras e vamos ganhar esse jogo aí.
Trabajar. Yeah, I think you need like a lot of determination, because you need to looking for what you want and focus on it. So you just need to keep going.
Mucha disciplina, mucha hambre y ganas de aprender y ser mejor siempre.
I think the ability to move from failure to failure I saw a quote from Angel, but when you move from each failure to failure without losing optimism, so every time that you lose, you just have to focus on improving rather than the end result.
Resilience, because you have to take a lot of hate, you have to take a lot of criticism, and you have to use it to make something better.
I think the traits that are most needed to be a pro are definitely discipline, dedication, and allowing yourself to grow and understanding your faults and your wrongdoings. I feel like a lot of pro players sometimes are stubborn and don't accept the fact that maybe they're bad at something. So yeah, definitely discipline.
I think love for the game. I think is the most important, because you spend good hours on doing this. So if you don't like what you're doing, you can be a little bit stressful. So it's not good on a team have a player who don't like what he's doing.
Very good mental, like just mental and like fortitude, because at the end of the day, like there's a lot of skilled players. Like you can be a very skilled player, but at the end of the day, if you're not like able to push past like unfortunate things that happen, or like maybe like a bad series, like slowly you're gonna get replaced. Like there's gonna be people that are just as good as you and like actually have those things that like make you better. And I guess also like just grind. Like you can't just like slack off. You have to, like, people are always coming for your job, right? Like you have to think like that. Like you don't wanna start slacking off, because like one day like there could be a player that like just fits better.
Map 1 maybe started out a little bit better than it concluded for Fusion, but it was still good to see them experiment bringing an alternative agent composition into the fold, one that we haven't seen the likes of from probably anyone ever. And you know what? I applaud them for trying it, and there was times when it worked, but they certainly met their match against the Union, who is also a very strong team coming in from the Brazilian region. A team that bested M80 in the group stage opener, so it's no surprise that they find success after they get accustomed to the pace of play that's brought to the table by Fusion. But it's time for a new map. You know, we're moving into map 2, Starry. This is Fracture. It's a map that these two teams are a little bit more comfortable on both sides.
Yeah, this is the map that both of them are really strong on. Obviously, we saw yesterday or the day before, like, Union taking down M80 on this map. So obviously, we know this is like a very comfortable map pick for them. But for Fusion, also, this is like a really strong map. So it could go either way. I feel like if Fusion is just able to make those adaptations a little better, they'd be able to come out on top.
We were talking about it during the break too. The Union, Roy, playing maybe a little bit more of a dated composition, or one you just don't see all that frequently. They bring Sage into the play, and it actually works out quite nicely for them. But given that the Fusion just threw us a massive curveball on map 1, even though it's a map they haven't played a lot of, and there's a chance that they make more adaptations on a map like that, given that leading into this, is there a world where Fusion has another one of those sort of weird comps to try to catch them off guard here in map number 2?
I mean, if they have another comp up their sleeve that isn't like a vanilla comp, I would even be shocked if I'm being completely honest. I think we're going to see what they showed last time, which is the Fade Breach composition, at least on the Fusion side. But in terms of the composition that the Union plays, like, yeah, it might be dated, but I still feel like in some way it is still extremely meta, right? Because the Sage Wall allows so many explosive plays. It also denies the explosive plays, right? Especially when we're seeing ourselves in a map where people tend to flood through smokes towards the B site constantly. Like, having that Sage utility on the attack side, yeah, she is considered a defensive agent, but her ability to deny these sort of aggressive plays and these sort of like meta plays, I think sort of ties it back and circles back to this comp not being so outdated. And I think the way that Union plays this comp specifically on this map is really like refreshing.
It's a little interesting to see the double Sentinel comp, even though I know Sage doesn't play similarly to, like, you know, Cypher or KJ or maybe even Chamber. Like, it's definitely a more unique Sentinel in the way that she's played. It is just a little bit different, and it did seem to just work out really nicely for them. And I can't imagine they would consider any changes given how well they played in their opening series against M80, who is a team that is also very competent on the map. So I would anticipate more of the same from them. And again, we talked about it in the pre-match. Their mid-rounding on this map is so good. They read their opponents really well. Given the fact that Fusion has played this map more than any other map coming into this was their favorite map. If you look back to basically Split 2 onward until this event, they picked it 7 times. 7. I think that is probably the most map picks of any team coming into this event. 7 fractures, all picked by them. A 71% win rate. They were 5-2. So still, it's pretty good. It's a strong map for them. It's not maybe as good as some of the other teams who have the 100% win rates, looking at a team like the Union. But as a result, there's tape there. There's so much tape. And Roy, you have to assume that Union has watched as much of it as possible.
And I think it goes both ways. Like, there's definitely at this level of play, man, there's a layer of like, oh, we know, they know. As soon as you enter the we know, they know, they know, we know, it becomes a sort of like a mind game between the IGLs and the coaching staff, right? Like, what pieces do we want to move around? What are we going to do with our ultimates? Like, especially like the set pieces, which both teams seem to be kind of favoring, right? Like, they don't like to wing their ultimates. Every time they have those really strong, game-changing ultimates, like the Breach ult, the Raze ult, like Brim ult, like they usually have clear go-to like strategies, and they're rightfully so because they have huge success rates on them. So I think in terms of that layer, I think we're going to see some sort of variance. But overall, I think these teams are just going to stick to their script. They know what works, they know what doesn't work, and may the best team win, really.
Well, the best team will win because that's how this works, apparently. That's just math. The team who's good wins. And we'll see if that theory holds true as we throw things over to our casters, Dryad and Tanner. Does my math check out? Does the best team win?
Yes, Bach, you're never supposed to do math on the desk. That's kind of the number one rule as a caster, as a host, as an analyst. Fortunately, that was an easy one. So fortunately, yes, the best team does win. As we set our eyes on Fracture here, Dryad, we were just talking before the desk gave us the call, before they gave us the pitch, about the Sage. And obviously, Rafa is a strong player just in general. but what the Sage brings to this team. So something to pay attention to as Fusion and Verdi want to go fast. There's a lot of stopping power for this defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that was also happening on that first map in a completely different way too. But for this one, with Sage, things will be slowed down too, but the defense, not gonna have to worry about it just yet. Pretty far away, Askia waiting for his chance.
Good.
Whoa.
Good paint shells. Right behind the stun as well. Not a whole lot of space to play with. Verdi also receiving so much damage. And we talked about the Sage's stopping power. I mean, the paint shells did it all here in the pistol.
And you see the paint shells coming from so far away. You think there's no way that hits, right? There's no way that gets one player. But also, it's Askia, so of course that's going to connect just in time. And it's going to hit as well for the damage. Two of the players extremely low here. Almost a third one here, or in darker for Fusion. With a play that wanted to be faster but gets slowed down, and this is the kind of the issue that M80 has, and the M80 had on the matchup against the Union, which is also a team that wants to be fast, wants to play a little bit more explosive, but the Union always found ways to not only shut it down but also match and surpass the fast pace that the enemy team wants to bring to them.
30 seconds left.
You see the paranoia setting in, right? Just because of the way that the Union have been able to get players in spots, they have to do their due diligence to clear all the way through the map. They're clearing every angle in doing so. Kind of running out of time here. Fortunately, Verdi, though, able to battle back for a kill of their own. It doesn't help the health situation, but numbers in terms of bodies that are available is even for now.
Being so low too, so having to be very, very careful. Depending on as well on mid that goes for the swing, ends up getting taken down.
Last player standing.
And Tarker able to get back one. Now it's all up to Edu here. And yeah, just too much. 3 players will swing him, 1 to take him down. It's NTK. And I mean, this round, again, it just goes back to those paint shells. That right there did so much more than, you know, just a bit of damage and a kill. It essentially wins the Union the round.
Another thing that I want to talk about, I know we already talked about the Sage and how it plays out, how it slows down the play, but also Pank on this Cypher, it seems to me like he just plays the perfect Cypher. It's crazy how much value he gets from the strap wires every single time. We got to watch it against M80. He brings a little bit of what we've seen from other Cypher players, but also his own kind of style into it. Every time someone gets stacked by the wire, you know he's gonna get taken down, and he's ready for it. He's always holding into those positions that are gonna benefit him at the end.
Spike
and if not
down
Pank,
A.
who? Well, Askia is who.
Missing paint shell, but I mean that's fine. With a boom bot actually getting that 3rd kill. Gets a little messy though, mid to down to 25 HP. A 2v3. Tank here. Just pushing forward. Nowhere to go too for Fusion.
Yeah, absolutely no way out of this one. Good fault line though. Will force Pank off the angle, but that trusty trap wire comes down. There's still not a whole lot of options. Mita did scoop up a Spectre, so damage is possible, but with 25 HP, it's hard to imagine it'll be much more than that.
Where do you go, though? There's 2 players towards that A side, 1 player towards B. It seems like A's gonna be the call here for Fusion.
30 seconds left.
And a Sage waiting up close.
The ghost should be enough. There's some of that stopping power that we mentioned. No wall available, but a couple of slow orbs.
At the time.
Fusion in place, and yeah, the time.
Remaining.
They're running out of it. Pank has made his rotation over. Will collect 2 kills at the end of the round there. And it took a second. It was delayed, but it eventually ends with 2 rounds in favor of the Union.
It feels like we've seen a lot of fracture towards Ascension, and it's only been, you know, this is a 3rd day, but it's been quite a lot of fracture that teams want to bring. They really show us kind of their own style and their own take on how it plays across the different regions of Americas. But it's a Union that is undefeated on this map, and you get to see the many different ideas as to why now changing the setup just a little bit for this round number 3. A Cypher gonna be located towards the B side along with the other Sentinel. Again, a play that we saw before. We saw it against M80. They use this wall, just slow things down, and then immediately back up.
And with that wall being gone, Fusion just want to try and continue to hit this site again. Slow orb, gonna slow things down. Pank though plays on the other side of the cage, finds that kill. Spike is down, and it's good damage, but that's all it is, right? That's all that Fusion have really been able to find is damage in some of these rounds.
And you need something else. A lot more for a round like this one. Very good for one, but that's as good as it gets. Third round here with a bonus. Secure, and the economy was pretty good towards the beginning for the Union anyways, but that change really does make the difference right at the end with the Sage and the Cypher. And again, a play that they brought in before, but with small changes, right? With the way the Pank was holding up close, completely unexpected by Fusion.
My thanks.
Yeah, Pank against M80 was kind of the player that played the other end of the teeter-totter. He played the back and forth where, you know, team is taking space on one side, Pank is looking to weasel his way in somewhere, which is why we're seeing Fusion, again, you know, cross their T's and dot their I's, clear out every single angle that's been afforded to them. But in this one, Pank playing a little more aggressively with the rest of the team. Speaking of aggressive, Askia already pushing out the top side of the map, util to support him, and it's going to force all 5 Fusion down to the bottom side. It's an open B site. It's a round where Fusion is sitting on pistols and a showstopper, so one that they usually find ways to scrape up and get the win, but with all that noise out towards B site, they head elsewhere.
And there's a little changes, right? You have Edu pushing from Arcade, being the only one. When you see the fade, you think there's going to be somebody else. There was no one else, but it needed to push from the south part of the map towards the B side. It didn't happen, so it ends up being the pivot towards A for this side of Fusion, and they still yet to find a kill. An opening to work with.
And they avoided the traps for now. Eventually, do make their way onto the site and have to deal with them. 2 kills for 1, though. Out comes the showstopper. And it's Askia's, unfortunately, Birdie not alive to put his in play. And they've done their job in getting that spike planted. Now Meat that has the hardest of jobs to try and keep it from being diffused. And Gorvien makes sure that it does, in fact, do just that. An orbital strike, a rolling thunder online. The Union 4 rounds the lead here, Dryad, and I don't think they're letting up anytime soon.
It does not seem like it's going to be the case. You have a couple ultimates as well for this set of Fusion, but played in such a different way, right? Especially when you compare the 2 duelists that we have right now. Askia on one side, so aggressive, so explosive, especially when he has that ultimate, as we get to see. But Verdi, maybe depending a little bit more on how the setup for this race is gonna look like to get value out of this ultimate, and depending a little bit more on it. All 5 players towards the north part of the map. Initially kind of expecting a push, willing to play it a little bit slower for this one.
Early Sage walls, we've really seen them all over the map. Rafa doing a good job mixing up the space that he is keeping from this Fusion squad. And if you want to take it, well, you have to make a lot of noise to do so, and that's exactly what they'll do. Verdi gonna send the rocket. Askia's been dealt with, so an early kill the way of Fusion. But what do they do with it? Because Pank is still set up. It's not him to collect the next. It's Rafa to find the first 4 of them. Now the spray comes through. Pank finally makes good on the util. Out comes the rolling thunder. The earth will shake, and unfortunately sunned up our Fusion as Pank will sneak his way on out. Find a kill with some extra information. Orbital strike to force him out. The Meat did finds the kill, but it doesn't matter. They did so much worrying about Pank, but the rest of the team was there to rally. No more doubts. And the Union have a fit.
And there to enter right back for the Union once again. I think that for a second you see backing up, and that Sage does really take you back to when this map even came out, right? The Sage that everybody was playing, and it always seemed to be the meta, right? A new map comes up, you're gonna be seeing that Sage early on, people trying to adapt, but the variation and the amount of many different ideas that they have for the Sage role just to slow things down makes you unable to play just for contact, as Fusion likes to bring in so many scenarios when they play against M80, so many rounds being contact, playing slow down, and you can do that when you're playing against this Sage, right? Things get definitely a lot more difficult for it. It is a Fusion that has some ideas, some unique ideas from that mid round, but again, the Union always one step ahead. His first time out that we get to see. Last time it was 2 for Fusion, 0 for the Union. It never really seemed to need them, even when they were down a couple rounds early on.
I think Fusion coming to this one, though, relatively altless. They use a showstopper in the last. They do still have that Rolling Thunder. They've managed to muster up a buy as well. It's going to be light shields across the board, but that is, you know, nothing that stands out too much. I think the ultimates that I'm paying attention to next are ultimates that are going to help secure the round, or at least secure a site. Theory is just around the corner from a lockdown, but GoRVN's been hanging on to that orbital strike. We'll see when that comes to fruition, or if Fusion can bait that one out before this lockdown comes online.
And even then, just that Rolling Thunder alone, can they save it for the post plan, or are they going to have to use it right away?
Ooh, there comes that orbital strike. They're going to take the fight right to him, though, as Fusion find 2 for their troubles. Meted goes down, which means smokes have now been erased. The Rolling Thunder comes through to try and take this side. Fate gonna try and stay alive. The cage, not enough. It's only concealment. It won't be cover. Meanwhile, Goo hasn't given himself up just yet. He gets 2 of 3 kills on the round. And with an operator in hand, Rafa finds himself the last one that stands. And a 1v2 as he works his way back towards this A site to defuse the spike.
And in a way, this seems very winnable, actually, for Rafa. The 1v2. Not really knowing where he's going to be coming from.
He has to drop eventually. 1 away. Ooh, that turret actually wouldn't have revealed him. He was quiet until now. He gives himself up. Fault line comes through. Aftershock forces the angle. Both players swing, and he just can't connect the shots cleanly. So Fusion do it. They take the fight right to the Union on an early angle out towards Dish, and they put a round on the board.
With the back and forth with the 2 ultimates that we got to see, that orbital strike that we were actually expecting RVN to save just for the lockdown, decides to commit to it, forces a space, forces the players to push forward to go right into the fight, and when the hit is about to come through towards that site, then you see that Rolling Thunder and the Cypher going down. So kind of the mental games that played between the 2 gives the first round of this map for Fusion.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of see it there too for the Union. They're not playing everything perfectly, although it looked like it for the first 5 rounds. The paint shells kind of overlapped. The positioning wasn't great. The orbital strike there. And now the Union want to fight. They're sad about that last round. They want to try and steal away the next. The Nightfall cuts the HP down. They're marked up, but they haven't quite fallen. Flashes come through. Theory collects 2 of their own. And 1 player the lead for Fusion as they think they've got themselves an open B site.
Placing swarm grenade. Swarm grenade.
2 players pretty far back. As the lockdown is gonna get utilized here by Fusion. It was a good read as well. They knew what the Union was gonna do. They were playing right away inside of that smoke, knowing the push for the Union. This is what they like to do towards main. So they wait for it, they go for the flash, they get those kills. The 3v2 to work with. But it's Bank and Rafa.
How smart, though. They're going back to protect these bodies. Obviously, post-plant position, but Rafa wanted to try and find a resurrection, and unfortunately, he sacrifices his life to take one of his own. Now, Pank gonna try his hand at the 1v2. He knows he has to make an aggressive play here. Darker's first up. Low HP finds the head. The Cypher has been erased, and Fusion put another on the board.
Played well, but too much to deal with right at the end with the 2 players towards main. So that is going to be the second round of Fracture here for Fusion. With a couple ideas, with a couple kind of adaptations that they brought since that timeout.
Last player standing.
And the way that they want to play it. And something that I actually really like about Fusion is the set plays that they have early on this map. On the attacking side especially, there's one specifically, a 4-1, where they have the Killjoy right on the other side. And they make sure the flashes are being sent from one side to the other, kind of communicating exactly how everything was going to work out at the end. But that does mean that in the first couple seconds after rounds, things do slow down. They have to wait to see if there's going to be a play, an aggressive play from the Union. And for this one, there isn't one, but the position is so far forward.
And playing the high-low here. off contact. Arvian will also be able to help should things go awry for NTK and Askia. Now they're actually calling for the cavalry here. Askia been taken down early. Out goes the C's, nowhere for Arvian to run, and every defender holding this angle gets erased. The B side has been opened up, and Rafa's been forced back. A Sky Smoke just in front of him. There's not much he can do.
Just cleared out completely. With the timing, there was nothing. Everything was quiet for Fusion, and they go for the play for contact. They get the first player. The flash right away to follow things to Darker. To make sure that the high-low is not going to be possible at all. And it's similar to what I was talking about, actually, for one of the plays that they had. It was a similar kind of style for a contact play from Arcade. Sometimes it's only Theory doing it. This time around, it was pretty much the entire team following it. And forcing the last two players of the Union to save.
And a winning recipe, at least for the last couple of rounds. I think the two just before, at least 2 of the 5. I don't know if they were back-to-back or if it was split up by a round in between, but we had seen Fusion kind of running into Rafa's Sage Wall, breaking it down and just looking to hit the site. Basically saying, hey, here we are. They kick down the door, and the defense at that point is already looking to rotate over. The last 2 rounds, though, for Fusion, last couple of rounds, actually, they've been beating that, right? They haven't been stuck behind that Sage Wall. They've been allowed the freedom to actually explore the entirety of the map. And a failure on my part, I didn't pay attention in that last one to see where Rafa ended up putting that Sage Wall, or if they had one. I know their economy was kind of on the bummy side. But Fusion being able to beat that and allowed to have those liberties to play around the map, I mean, that just is so important in Fracture. So they're doing a good job after that timeout to understand, hey, we need to breathe a little bit, right? We don't have to stay so tight. We don't have to 5-man hit.
When you have that wall too, you can just put it the way that we've seen towards Arcade, the way that we've seen towards Main, and that enables a little bit more presence with 2-3 players even pushing to the other side. And so you just have that piece of utility to take care of part of the map, play for that info, and it feels like it really plays well against Fusion, right? A Fusion that we've seen kind of slow down, a Fusion that doesn't like to go and make all the noise in the world right away, but just when it's necessary for that hit into sight. And like you said, in the past couple rounds, that hasn't been something that they had to worry about so much, just kind of dealing with it a lot faster than before, and even adapting around where the Sage is going to be located. Usually with the Cypher this time around, not going to be any different. The 2 Sentinels towards that B site. And going for the wall once again.
Yeah, lesser buy here for the Union. This would be a nice pickup for them to get some confidence back, get that momentum swinging back in their favor. For now, it all belongs to Fusion. Oh my God.
He's not even moving.
Wow, I mean, one of 2 saved rifles, the worst possible scenario, and now the jig is up. All the information tossed out. Peng just had himself a huge round.
Peng's easiest kills of his life. I mean, he was just waiting for them to line up, gets the 2 right away. And like you said, a buy that was kind of uncomfortable, but 2 players here remaining for Fusion, Edu, and Meathead, kind of on the other side as everybody was getting taken down.
And Fusion have been avoiding the Sage Wall. Because of that, Rafa pushed up on the Sage Wall, hung out the entire time out towards B main tree area, and then just took the space all the way through spawn, knowing that they were just going to try and avoid where that util was. An awful round here for Fusion as it all falls apart around them. Around you, definitely wish you could have back a timeout taken and a flawless found for the Union.
As you see that, the round that you could have back, it does remind me of what the coach for Fusion was saying about the match against M80. Kamikaze, he was talking about on Twitter about giving away rounds that they didn't have to give up, right? Mistakes and numbers advantage that they don't have to give up early on. And they recognize just a little too late. Wish you could change things around, but the match is live is the advantage here that they're trying to get. The most important one. And a couple ultimates here on both sides. Fusion trying to catch up, and Verdi, okay, gonna make that one clean with the Guardian. Has a showstopper.
Yeah, look at this though. Smokes come down. Rafa goes up on top of his wall, but good rolling thunder. Not only does it allow for Verdi to find another kill, but it knocks the Sage off the wall. Won't have the high ground, won't have any life to fight here in round 10 as Verdi takes complete control of this B site.
That is the Verdi that everybody likes to see, and I know he has a lot of fans, right? From NA too.
Easy.
Gets the 3 kills, changes things around, changes the pace as well for Fusion that had been so slow.
You're nothing.
And NTK though still kind of being annoying to deal with for the 1v3.
Ascendant bullets left, 3 players looking to swing him here. Low on time, finds a third on the way out. Not really kills that everybody could afford to give up on the side of Fusion, but I think they're happy to trade those at the end of the day to take away the round. So the momentum, it continues to swing back and forth. Fusion, for a little bit there, Dryad looked out of this one on Fracture. They've battled back.
Oh, yeah.
2 more to tie us up. 2 more for an even half is all they need.
It's a change of pace for this round, but you gotta wonder how many more of those are you gonna see, right? Because the adaptation for the Union is always quick, it's always fast. And they actually like to bring that aggression themselves. They're pretty far forward. It seems like the Prowler Tower's is gonna detect it. Naskia going for it. Has a showstopper.
There's the aggression. 4 ults available, 1 used. Orbital Strike gonna try and clear him out. It's the rifles that eventually do it. Fusion ready to receive the aggression, and they do it again for a third. But we've seen this from Pank. This is his angle. See if he gets anything on it. The smoke seemingly will keep him at bay. He's got info at the very least.
I found my wire. Cage triggered.
Inside of the smoke, trying to go out. Goes for the same one. Ends up getting taken down by the Nano Swarm. It's a 1v3 to deal with for NTK.
Yeah, he was given a chance. I believe in a 1v5 in the last round. This time 2 less players to worry about, but the outcome is the same. Theory cleans him up. Fusion put a 5th on the board, and they continue to battle for an even half here in Fracture.
And what we saw at the beginning for Fusion, it was so good, actually. It was so clean to play that they were able to bring. They expected that aggression to come from A main. They're able to bait the players to be pushed in, especially Askia. With the Prowler that we saw for the Fade, kind of brings them right in. They use that Orbital Strike. And they get that space. We're saying we're playing so well. And that is something that they talked about. They said even after losing against M80, they realized kind of the level that they're at, right? It's not a crazy difference. And that is kind of one of the funnest things to see about Ascension. Everybody's close. Everybody has a chance to win these matches.
Yeah, and I think a small victory here, win or lose in the series, would be for Fusion to push us to a map 3, to show that the Union can and will bleed here in this tournament, but to fight for a 6. Yeah, and on Fracture, yeah, a big one after the Union looked incredible on this one, but we're not out of it just yet. And the last one of the half starts with Verdi being gone almost immediately.
Slow down once again. And not with the Sage. Once again, it's going to be that raise, those paint shells. So this time around, the connect to a kill. The Verdi is going to be down for this round. And it gets scary though. Orbital Strike for this last round. A showstopper too for Askia.
Yeah, I mean, you see the play here that's starting to cook, but yeah, this should be answered almost immediately. What's happening because of this though, right? Look at the teeter-totter on the map. They're making noise outside A main. They're trying to sell the fake this way. The spike is still working back towards B though, Dryad.
But is that going to call all the rotations though? It seems like they need a little bit more time, and now they know what the play is.
Wow, Theory goes huge again. We saw this guy do it on Pearl. We've seen it in rounds previous here on Fracture. In one of the most important rounds, they start a player down, and Theory erases both defenders on this B site. Opens things up, but they're not in the woodworks just yet. Rafa neutralizes for another kill of his own.
one of my favorite things about the Yuri, right, is exactly that. Out of nowhere, this guy will come up with 2-3 kills just to open up that space, to open up the fight for Fusion. It seems like the round is pretty much secure at 3v3, but the time running out.
It jumps on, looks to get this one halfway. Aftershock deals with the kill on to Bank. Ooh, did the Molly? That doesn't even matter. No, it didn't. I thought the Molly may have missed. Rafa thought the same exact thing. I don't know how that works, but hey, they've done it. Fusion, they come into this one battered and bruised. They lose a handful of rounds at the start, unanswered, but they battle back for the best that they could get. 6-6 right as we swap sides.
Pretty good here for Fusion. In a team that we already got to see on this map, I mentioned it earlier, we've seen Fracture a good amount of times here on Ascension. And it's a Fracture that, compared to everybody else, Fusion is willing to kind of play around it and mix it according to what the enemy team is going to bring to them. You have the set plays, the set ideas that you see for the Union, for M80, for all of those teams. But a Fusion that is actually bringing new things into this one. And making it work out. 6-6 against the Union, against the best team in Brazil. I mean, it's more than ideal.
Yeah, the best part about the comp here for this one, I'm gonna hold that thought as we just jump right into the action. The Union collect 2, make it 3, make it 4, make it 5. The round is over just like that. A flawless pistol to reclaim a lead for the Union.
Everybody meets towards Arcade and everybody gets taken down. Fusion wanting to meet that aggression. The paint shells don't go out just in time. And the Union are able to secure that pistol, once again taking the lead. 7-2-6 though, so anything can happen. I mean, even thinking about Fusion, the thrifties today haven't been as relevant as we've seen for other days, and when they were going against Mady, and it was just the back and forth, especially on this map. So there's a chance for it today.
And they're trying for that same exact fight. This time there's a stun behind it, but nobody wants to swing off of that. Askia, RVN, I mean, they're just stacking ult orbs here at this point.
The hunt was insane too. Kind of meeting in the same place where they met for the pistol, but making it fast, making it quick for the Union to get to 8. Remembering too, securing the victory of this match would mean the Union is that #1 seed.
Yeah.
It's a big one for them. The players were talking about it. This is kind of a group stage that allows you to get some experience against other regions, against other teams, but also getting that first seed just puts you 2 matches away from making it to those finals. A position you definitely want to be in, and the Union is just one step closer to it.
Wow, quick on the trigger there. Verdi tried to rip Askia out of the sky. Found some damage, looked to find the rest of the paint shells, but unbridled, nothing behind them there. Good damage on Askia and Rafa, but they're players that are still alive, and look at the positioning here.
I thought he was gonna stay on top. And having to give it up. Spike planted though, and this retake is not easy at all. You have to deal with the Sage roll that we talked about first.
Bit of a weapon swap. Rafa gonna have the Vandal now in hand. Verdi going aggressive through the smoke. They have to deal with this attacking side that plays a beautiful post plant. They're gonna hop on to look to get it halfway. He falls short. I mean, what can Darker do? There's no time. Edu also gonna work at it here. And the Union, I mean, you just cannot let them get set up. 3 rounds in a row here on their attacking side. And again, there's no brake pedal for this team.
The post-plant positionings for the Union are just so insanely clean. As you get to see, not only they're guaranteeing everybody's trading each other, but they're getting these big rounds, the swing rounds of anything, that make sure Fusion cannot get any more rounds. In a Fusion that, if they lose this match, would go winless towards the group stage. And they talked about it, they felt like this was the most difficult group for them, but going ahead and having some close rounds, some close maps against really, really strong teams has to be kind of that impulse, the motivation for the squad to come back. But for this round, it had to be in a Thrifty.
And the first time that we're seeing these teams play regionally, outside of their region, I should say, cross region. So if you just looked at it numerically, you would think
Down B.
the number 2 versus number 1 doesn't look great, but they're making a name for themselves here. They're making definitely an argument as Verdi picks up huge kills with just that Sheriff alone. He's been dancing.
No way.
Now Rafa here to try and battle back into it. Theory's been so good, but he has to be better, and unfortunately, he will not be. Rafa goes clutch.
And Rafa waiting for his chance to do so, finally gets that clutch. One of the players that you see staying alive until the very end of the round pretty much every single time. Even though he goes for some aggression early on, right, when he wants to set up those walls.
Down B.
But it seems like the ideas are, at this point, kind of running short for Fusion.
That
With many
haunt,
different styles as well for the Union.
the haunt so deceiving. It didn't reveal Rafa on that corner, so they thought maybe he would be up in tower. And now look at the ultimates that are available for the Union. Rolling Thunder Orbital Strike so much to just take space and to keep it. Good CISO. Stops the attack for now. Out comes the Orbital Strike. Verdi gonna try and get out of it, but he's forced forward. Players at his back. He'll turn and find the first. Looks to blast back his way to safety. Unable to do so. It means a resurrection brings Askia back on the table. And the Union are a player ahead.
Bring them down.
And a couple ultimates that are so close for Fusion, but they need that kill to be able to guarantee, as the spike did get planted. A little bit of a cross. The distraction as well from the bottom. Gonna be Askia taking care of it.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a cross. That was super cross. That was insane. The amount of angles they had to watch that ropes position. They had Pank from drop. They had a player on site. They had 2 players in sands. One just under the ropes. One closer towards that spawn, that double stack box. That was an impressive position here as we get another look at it. In a situation where Darker tried his hand, made it look doable. Unfortunately, just falls short. Needed the ace, and with that, if you let the Union breathe, I mean, they are just going to run with it. 5 rounds in a row, 2 away. Fusion here on their defense, they don't have an answer.
The couple ultimates that were available, were going to become available, are finally here now, right? That Rolling Thunder and that lockdown especially can be and have to be the difference maker for this round. If not, the economy is just not going to be there for that next round when it's already match point for the Union. So trying to avoid that, and that means maybe all 3 ultimates being invested for the set of Fusion on this offensive side. Playing pretty far back, wanting to play this A side for the retake.
Yeah, I mean, they're already on this A site. It belongs to them. Fusion playing passive here in this one. Paint shells are out. Verdi trying to stall things for now, but it's only a matter of time before this attack takes this A site. And then again, gets set up, right? This is when you have to pull the trigger, right? You have to hit that go button before they get the spike planted. If you give them a second to set up, it's gonna be too hard to deal with. The lockdown will force him off the site. Rolling Thunder clears it out as well. Here comes Askia, though, trying to get something back. NTK and Askia hand in hand for 2 kills, but they're traded. They're stolen right back from Fusion as Rafa dances the dance inside. The util cannot make it out, but the trades continue. A huge round here for Fusion to get back into this one. Askia trying to deny. Rolling Thunder on the other side. A bit of friendly fire with it. Edu gone. And Meated just not long for this world. Askia 4 kills on the round, goes absolutely huge, and the Union keep marching forward.
Insane for the Union once again. I mean, so many things to break down for that round. Fusion, they allowed this A side to be played for the retake. They wanted to play the retake with that lockdown going first, but I'm sure they never had to deal with that race shutting down the ultimate, taking it down just with the paint shows. We've seen it across different maps. We've seen it especially on Lotus, but a Fracture here is not going to be any different. That lockdown gets taken down, and at that point, there's no map control that Fusion has for the last round. I mean, and now for this one, it could be the last one. Look at the buy. Look at how it looks for the defense.
Yeah, we've definitely seen better buys, but we have seen crazier things. The Guardian sometimes feeling like a nuke in certain players' hands. We'll see if that lives true for Theory and Verdi.
And he has for Verdi before. There's an Arbiter Strike to the last ultimate remaining for Fusion. So a couple of chances, but you don't know where the unit is going to come from.
Man, Rafa's on the wrong side of the map, but making it look like the right side as he finds a long-range kill into spawn. Another has been erased here on this A site. And I mean, in a 5v5, if you didn't want the Union to get set up in their post, how about in a 5v3? Wall is up. Askia just behind it. Darker trying to find something through the smoke, but they aren't given much. Orbital Strike still available. But I mean, where and when do you send it? Aftershock for Aftershock to Fusion. Fusion have to make a move. Paint shells are out. Orbital Strike pushes Askia forward right into the welcome arms. And the trades just aren't there. Meter will try his hand, but it's just not enough. And their win streak continues as the Union sit comfortably atop their group, undefeated. Dryad, this team is unstoppable.
I love seeing these guys play. They are so fun to watch. It seems like the Union always mixes, you know, that explosive W gaming factor that everybody likes to watch with a very in detail kind of small plans that they have throughout, with the use of utility, with kind of the positioning for the close plans, for the trades that they're going to have. It's always so clean, and it just makes sense that they go undefeated and they secure that first seed for the group.
And I mean, you even saw it there. Player cams the entire game, by the way. Even that round where Pank and Rafa had the only two rifles, Pank just starts shooting everybody in the head. Around that, the Union shouldn't have won. It's just another day in the office. It's just business as usual for them. They stand up, they just start cleaning up their stuff. Like, this is what is supposed to happen for this team. In their minds, Ascension, the Americas spot, it is there. And I don't think at this point, anybody can doubt them, right? The way that they came in and beat M80, now they do this to Fusion. Absolutely insane. And I know that, well, not a whole lot of map to talk about here. The Union get it done pretty convincingly. We're going to throw things back to the desk to get their thoughts and set us up for the next one.
Thank you very much, Tanner. 2-0 again for the Union as they shut out Fusion, and unfortunately Fusion really couldn't seem to get their foot in the door. The early start in map 1 on Pearl was definitely the most successful string we saw, but they just kind of fell flat after that. Fusion won 4 rounds in a row on Pearl to kick things off, and then they lost the entire rest of the half except for 1 round. And then here we come to Fracture, and again, it's very much similar, where it's Union just controlling the pace, winning round after round after round in a row. And there was just a little bit of a burst there towards the tail end of the first half. They won 3 rounds, lost 1, won 3 rounds, and that was it. Everything else, it was all Union. Starry is just a difficult team to play against, so you can't really fault Fusion for it.
Yeah, I really liked how Fusion was able to adapt in their attack side. They were picking up rounds with their explosive, aggressive plays and their good util layering, and they're able to kind of tie up that half. And then when they switched over to defense, I think their main issue was they couldn't get their retakes in quite well. They gave Union too much time to set up for their post plan that it made it kind of impossible for Fusion to get those retakes in.
This pistol round, too, that started out the second half was just kind of like, all right, well, I guess that's the way the game's going to be played. And it was just kind of a bloodbath favoring the side of the Union as they closed things out, winning every single round in the second half. The Fusion, unfortunately, they're just kind of locked out of the game at that point. And a large part of that was just based on the way that we saw the Union playing, but specifically Askia, who was a player we profiled coming into this one. He's largely the one who controls and dictates the pace of play from the side of the Union. And we saw that here. He was just explosive on the attacking side.
Yeah, I mean, during the first map, it was all Askia. Like, his performance was just so wild. I feel like on the second map, it was more of like more of a team showing. I mean, As an IGL, there's one round specifically that comes to mind. It's a round where Pancake just lurks out on the A site, and we're just like, wait, Pancake's out on the A site by himself. Like, how do you even IGL that kind of round? Like, I can't even begin to fathom how you can even construct a round like that. It requires so much like individual finesse and individual read on the game and on how Fusion is playing to sort of orchestrate these kind of rounds. And it just goes to show that not only is the Union a flashy team, but they're extremely well constructed when it comes to strategy, personal reads, individual talent. It all just comes together so beautifully.
One of the biggest things that you talk about when you talk about Fusion as well coming into this event was Verdi and his explosive play. It's what they were even talking about when you watch the content pieces. Verdi, unfortunately, maybe a little bit hamstrung there with the first map, putting him on a Neon role. It definitely felt a little bit more awkward and uncomfortable. The second map, maybe more of his wheelhouse, and there was a couple of rounds that we did get to see some of what we've heard, this explosive play, the potential that's there, but it's just because things didn't really click for them and the Union really shut him down. He ends up going 4 and 12 in first kills and first deaths, which is not really what we've seen from him coming into this event. Definitely an off game, but let's not forget, it's just the group stages, right? Like, you know, yes, there's obviously the importance of this being for seeding, a seeding match that gives you that first round bye starting in the playoffs. But this was a great opportunity for teams to get acclimated to one another. And I have high hopes that Fusion will come into that playoff bracket maybe in a different form. And we already saw today, they're a team that's willing to take risks. They're a team that's willing to roll the dice. And with the time they have to prepare for the playoffs, there's certainly a world where we could see them do more of that. Maybe more experimental comps. Even though it didn't work, the Neon Yoru combination did make us go, you know, I kind of like what they're thinking. We pulled out the Zenny glasses and we were like, students of the game, I see. It was nice to see them at least experiment and make a change. But it's also nice to see the Union do exactly what a lot of people from the Brazilian region said they were going to do coming into this event. They dominated their group. They exited as the #1 seed. M80 didn't even really put up too much of a fight realistically. The Union definitely made it look a lot easier over them than many of us would have anticipated. So kudos to them for what they've done. But we've got one more match coming your way in just a minute. We've got the other North American hopefuls, the Guard, facing off against 9Z, fighting for the #1 spot in their group. We'll be back in just a bit.
Yo, check it out. Want to know if the price of those Wave Runners is too good to be true? Or if I Wear My Kicks 49 is truly selling dead stocks? Or if that Jordan 1 Royal Box is original? eBay checks. See that little blue check mark? Behind it is a team of independent authenticators who check. And we mean everything. Every tongue, check. Every toe box, check. Every corner of every box, check, 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 check. Every logo, every label, every lace loop. Yeah, it's checked. The luster of the leather, the topography on the tags, to the straightness of the stitching on the sole. Everything you can see, and even some things you can't.
Really?
Then they tag them, log them in the system, box them up, and ship them out, with no cost for the buyer or seller. eBay checks, so the moment you open that box is as real gets.